Welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep today, right into the dark web.
Yeah, the dark web.
We're going to be looking specifically at Alphabay. Have you heard of Alphabay?
Oh, absolutely. Alphabay was, I think, at least for a time, it was the largest illegal marketplace on the internet.
It was huge, like 300,000 products, 40,000 sellers.
Yeah.
And it was run by this guy, Alpha 2. Do you know much about Alpha 2?
I know it was a pseudonym, obviously.
Yeah.
But as far as the real identity of Alpha 2, that was a mystery for a long time.
That's what we're going to get into today.
Right.
Who was Alpha 2? How did they build this massive empire?
Yeah.
And how did it all come crashing down?
Yeah.
So to start off, I guess we should talk about the rise of these dark web marketplaces, right?
Yeah.
When did they start showing up?
Yeah. So I'd say the early 2010s, really. That's when interest in cryptocurrencies was starting to grow.
Oh, yeah, Bitcoin.
Bitcoin. Yeah, exactly. And, along with that, there was a lot more interest in online anonymity. And those two things really created like the perfect conditions for these dark web marketplaces to take off.
They had the tool they needed.
Yeah, exactly.
So Silk Road. I mean, I feel like that's kind of the big one that comes to mind, right?
Definitely. Silk Road was like the biggest, most well-known marketplace, at least initially.
What kinds of things were people buying and selling on Silk Road?
Mainly to drugs.
Oh, okay.
I think that was the main thing. And at its peak, it had over 100,000 users every day.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a lot.
So the authorities obviously weren't too happy about Silk Road, right? What did they do about it?
Well, in 2013, Silk Road got shut down. There was a big coordinated effort by law enforcement to shut it down.
Globally.
Yeah, they seized the servers, they arrested the founder, Ross Ulbricht. I think it was a message to criminals that this wasn't going to be tolerated.
A shot across the bow.
Exactly, yeah.
But it doesn't sound like it was super effective because after Silk Road got shut down, a bunch of other marketplaces popped up.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was like there was this vacuum, like a void, and all these other sites rushed in to fill it. There was Silk Road 2. Evolution, Agora, Black Flag Project, and a bunch more, and they all kind of sprung up almost immediately after Silk Road went down. It's incredible how quickly they were able to capitalize on this existing customer base.
I mean, it shows you the demand, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Was Alphabay one of those that popped up right away?
It popped up pretty soon after. I don't think it was immediate. It initially focused on stolen credit card info.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it expanded really quickly into all sorts of other stuff.
Yeah.
Drugs, weapons, malware. I think eventually you could find just at anything you wanted on Alphabay.
Wow, so they went big.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so bigger than Silk Road. Were there any, rules? Was it just a complete free-for-all?
Well, they did have some rules. No hitmen for hire was one of them.
No hitmen.
No hitmen for hire. And also, they didn't allow selling of Russian bank account details.
Interesting. What do you think that was about?
It's hard to say for sure. Some people have speculated that maybe Alpha 2 had some ties to Russia and they didn't want to, step on any toes. Or, maybe it was just a way to avoid attracting the attention of Russian authorities.
Makes you wonder.
Yeah, definitely.
So Alpha 2, you said we don't know who they really are. How did they stay hidden for so long?
Right. Well, I mean, that's the big question.
Right.
But from what we can tell, they were very careful.
Okay.
They took a really professional approach. They put together a whole team. They even had a PR manager.
Wait, a PR manager for a dark web marketplace?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know it sounds crazy, but that's what they did. And, at some point, it seems like Alpha 2 stepped back from the day-to-day operations and handed over control to someone called D-Snick.
So they were trying to create some distance, plausible deniability.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely what it seems like. It made it really hard for law enforcement to track them down.
Okay, so how did they finally find Alpha 2? How did they crack this case?
It was actually a lucky break. You're not going to believe this.
Okay.
In December 2016, an agent named Robert Miller, he received an email that had an early registration email from Alphabay in it.
Oh, wow.
And the sender's email address was just right there, plain as day. It was pimp_91@hotmail.com.
Pimp91. Oh, really?
Yeah, right.
And this is Alpha 2.
It seems that way. I mean, it sounds crazy, but that's what led them to him.
Wow. I guess even criminal masterminds make mistakes.
Yeah, I guess so. Everyone slips up sometimes, and in this case, that one little slip up was all it took to bring the whole thing crashing down.
So from that one email, they were able to figure out who Alpha 2 really was.
Well, it took some digging, but yeah, eventually they traced that email address to a guy named Alexandre Cazès.
Okay, and who was Alexandre Cazès?
Well, he was a French national. He had a social media profile under the name Troy Reviscid, and it turns out he was also active on a pickup artist website.
Okay, this is getting weird.
I know, right? Pickup artist, dark web mastermind. It's quite a combo.
Yeah, so, was this guy living a double life? Was he, undercover?
It seems that way. He was living in Thailand with his wife. They had multiple properties, including this really fancy villa that the investigators started calling the Bachelor Pad.
The Bachelor Pad. Wow. So he was doing pretty well for himself.
Yeah, you could say that.
So wait, the authorities are in Thailand looking for this guy, and then what happens?
Okay, so get this. They're in Bangkok, right? And they just happen to see Kaz's in a hotel lobby.
Really? What are the odds?
I know, it's crazy. And he parks his Porsche right in front of them. He has no idea who they are.
This is like out of a movie.
I know, right? It was completely by chance.
So they arrest him right there on the spot.
Well, not quite. They needed to make sure they could shut down Alpha Bay at the same time, so they had to be a little more strategic about it.
Okay, I get it. So what did they do?
It's a wild story. You're going to have to wait for part 2 to hear the rest.